Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you're a college engineering student, a hobbyist tinkering with an Arduino, or honestly just someone fascinated by how smart devices actually work, you are absolutely in the right place. Today we're going to track the incredible journey of a simple temperature reading. We'll literally start from a physical sensor wired up on your breadboard and follow it all the way up to the global cloud. To do this, we're going to construct a mental layer cake today. We'll start with the basic IoT building blocks, move into the perception layer, then check out network and 5G connectivity, edge, fog, and cloud computing, compare consumer versus industrial IoT, and finally, we'll tackle the massive security challenge. All right, section 1, the IoT building blocks. So to understand massive smart systems, we first got to break them down into their core components. And it doesn't matter if you're building a simple smart fan controller in your dorm room or a multi-million-dollar industrial monitoring system. The fundamental anatomy is exactly the same. Every smart system relies on four elements working together in perfect harmony. First up, you have the sensors. Think of an LM35 or DHT11 temperature sensor. These are basically the eyes and skin of the system, detecting physical changes like heat. Next, we have processors, like your trusty Arduino Uno or a Node MCU, which take that raw electrical signal and translate it into readable data. Third, we have gateways, which act as the bridge to shoot that data up to the internet. And finally, applications. That's the dashboard on your laptop or the app on your phone where you actually read the temperature. And it's pretty amazing how these exact same simple building blocks scale up to revolutionize entirely different industries. For example, in manufacturing, temperature sensors monitor heavy machinery to prevent overheating, which drastically decreases downtime and lowers repair costs. In agriculture, sensors monitor soil moisture and weather, saving vital resources. In healthcare, wearables are constantly tracking things like heart rates to improve patient safety. And in retail, IoT tracks shelf stock automatically. It's the exact same four building blocks, just applied to different real-world problems. Moving on to section 2, the perception layer. Now, what's really fascinating is the very bottom of our layer cake. We call this the perception layer, where the physical world meets the digital. This is your Arduino or Node MCU actually gathering the raw data. Think of it kind of like an old-school thermometer, expanding with heat, but digital. If you've ever wired up a sensor on a breadboard, you know the drill. You connect VCC to your 5E power, GND to ground, and your data pin to an analog or digital input on your microcontroller. The sensor detects the heat and produces a voltage proportional to that temperature. Then, the Arduino performs what's called analog to digital conversion, or ADC, translating that analog voltage into a digital number between 0 and 1023. From there, you just use a simple command like analog read in your code to pull that data in. Boom, that is the perception layer in action. Let's look at a real-world healthcare example to see exactly how this data flows from a patient's wrist to a doctor's screen. Step 1, we sense the patient's temperature using a DS18B20 digital sensor. Step 2, that data gets processed by a Node MCU, which, by the way, is an awesome beginner-friendly microcontroller with built-in Wi-Fi. Step 3, the Node MCU transmits the data over the internet to a cloud platform like Ubidots. And finally, Step 4, if the temperature crosses a dangerous threshold, an alert pops up on an LCD or is sent directly to a mobile app for the doctor. It's a beautifully seamless chain of communication. Which brings us to section 3, network and 5G connectivity. Okay, so getting that perception data out into the world requires robust networks. Connecting your Arduino to your home Wi-Fi is one thing, but what about a million sensors spread across a smart city? That's where 5G comes in, literally supercharging our IoT layers with 4 massive upgrades. We get way faster data transfer for real-time processing. We get improved energy efficiency, meaning a remote sensor running on a tiny battery can last for years because 5G handles small data packets so well. We get much lower latency, and we get greater network reliability, even in tough environments where a drop signal used to be a huge headache. To put that into perspective, 5G reduces response times to just a few milliseconds. In a hospital or a factory, those saved milliseconds are an absolute game changer. If a sensor detects an industrial motor overheating, a few milliseconds of lag in shutting it down could literally result in the machine destroying itself. 5G ensures that data moves almost instantaneously. Let's step up to section 4, edge, fog, and cloud computing. Once your sensor data is in the network, where does the actual thinking take place? Well, you can't always afford to wait for a remote server thousands of miles away to make a decision. Sometimes you need the network edge to act immediately.
Imagine you've written a simple Arduino program that kicks on a cooling fan using a relay the second your LM35 reads above 30 degrees Celsius. That local, immediate decision-making is basically edge computing. Scale that up, and you get fog computing, a gateway sitting between your local devices and the distant cloud, processing time-sensitive data on the spot to cut down on delays. When comparing the two approaches, you can see exactly why engineers push processing to the edge. Cloud computing relies on remote servers, which is fantastic for massive data analytics and storing years of temperature logs, but it definitely comes with higher latency. Fog and edge computing, on the other hand, are geographically localized. They offer incredibly low latency and real-time processing. For time-critical applications like self-driving cars, robotic arms, or emergency fire alerts, you absolutely want that processing happening as close to the physical sensor as possible.
Next up, Section 5, Consumer versus Industrial IoT. So now that we have our layers established, from the physical sensor to the network to the cloud, let's look at two radically different deployment worlds. A smart thermostat in your hallway and a heavy-duty vibration sensor on an offshore oil rig actually use very similar underlying tech, but the stakes entirely different. Consumer IoT is all about convenience, low cost, and personal privacy. Industrial IoT, or IIoT, focuses on continuous operation in brutal environments, and these devices are expected to last 10 to 20 years without failing.
Industrial IoT relies heavily on continuous predictive maintenance. Think about it. If your smartwatch drops its Wi-Fi connection, you miss a step count. Kind of annoying, right? But if an industrial temperature sensor drops off the network, predictive maintenance completely stops. Engineers miss the alert that a pump is overheating, which means production halts, costing millions, or even worse, compromising worker safety. So, with billions of highly sensitive devices now running everything from our living rooms to our national power grids, it really begs the question, how safe is our data?
That brings us to Section 6, the security challenge. Let's dive into the dark side of all this massive connectivity. This is the stuff that keeps security experts awake at night. Because edge devices are so often installed and then completely forgotten about, malicious networks can and do hijack them. The Qbot botnet is a classic example. Hackers literally scan the internet for vulnerable, low-security IoT devices, like a cheap, poorly programmed temperature sensor sitting on Wi-Fi, and recruit them into a massive botnet army to launch cyber attacks against other systems. And the crazy thing is, the very features that make perception layer sensors so cheap and easy to use are exactly what make them a security nightmare. When you're writing code for a basic microcontroller, it usually has super low computational power. It simply lacks the memory or processing speed to run a heavy firewall or complex encryption. Combine that with terrible habits like leaving default passwords unchanged, using weak authentication, unencrypted messaging, and a lack of regular security updates, and you've got millions of vulnerable access points scattered globally. To combat this, especially in industrial systems, we can't just expect the sensors to protect themselves. We have to weave thick layers of security directly into the network architecture itself. This means using highly encrypted communication channels, segmenting the network so a hacked sensor can't pivot into the main control servers, and enforcing strict role-based access control so only authorized people can make system changes. What you really need to take away from this explainer is that building an IoT system isn't just about wiring up a sensor on a breadboard. It's about responsibly managing the entire lifecycle of that data, from physical heat to digitization, secure network transit, all the way up to the cloud. Keep this layer cake in mind, always double-check your wiring, and for sure, write clean code. Thanks for hanging out with me to learn about this today. But before you close this out, ask yourself, as our world becomes a massively interconnected web of sensors, how are you going to design your next project to balance seamless cloud connectivity with bulletproof edge security?